All right, tonight, sadly, anti-Semitism, it is on the rise. Democrats, they seem not quite as sure how to respond. On Thursday, the very first day of Hanukkah, a man shouting, "Free Palestine," literally fired a shotgun outside of a temple. Now, this as many on the left are voicing public support for a global Islamic war, or what they call Intifada, and other left-wing demonstrators now openly condoning what? The rape, the murder, the torture of October the 7th, praising Hamas for confronting their, quote, oppressors by any means necessary. Earlier in the week, we had the presidents of Harvard and MIT and UPenn. They refused to condemn calls for genocide without more context. And get this, the executive director of the group CAIR, that's the Council on American-Islamic Relations, recently praising the October 7th massacre, proclaiming that Israel has no right to self-defense. Really? Take a look.
The people of Gaza only decided to break the siege, the walls of the concentration camp on October 7th. And yes, I was happy to see people breaking the siege and throwing down the shackles of their own land and walk free into their lands that they were not allowed to walk in. And yes, the people of Gaza have the right to self-defense.
All right, and get this, it gets way worse. The Biden administration, they were coordinating with CAIR in an official capacity to, quote, combat anti-Semitism. Now, since those despicable and repulsive comments, the White House has been frantically trying to distance itself from CAIR and scrubbing any mention of the group from the White House website. And both the vice president and the second gentleman have also recently condemned anti-Semitism, frankly, after weeks of silence. Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz and best-selling author and former special envoy for combating anti-terrorism, Noa Tishby, is with us. Noa, your reaction to this?
My reaction is that we're very pleased that CAIR was removed from the White House website when anything that has to do with anti-Semitism. The fact of the matter is this: CAIR has had a history of, let's say, questionable remarks when it comes to the Jewish people, and they should not have been a part of the anti-Semitism strategy of the White House. One of their San Francisco chairs said a couple of years ago that we have to be careful of the Zionists' organizations. What we're seeing here is the truth coming out. The fact of the matter is this: all these organizations do not want Israel to exist. They're trying to wipe Israel off the map, and they're trying to do this in a very convoluted and kind of like hidden way. We've been saying for a very long time that anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are one and the same, and this is exactly what we're seeing right now. The truth is coming out. They don't want Israel to exist, and we need to fight this. I want to say one more thing about that Nihad Awad. Okay, he was talking about Gazan people owning walking on their land. They're denying Jewish nativity and ingenuity in the land of Israel, which is absolutely ridiculous. We're about to celebrate the birthday of a Jewish man who lived in Nazareth over 2,000 years ago, and they're trying to tell us that Jews have not been in Israel since before 1948. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm very happy that that organization was removed from anything that has to do with the White House strategy on anti-Semitism.
What do you make, Jason, of the Biden administration embracing the group CAIR? We know their history. Why? Why would they do that?
There's no justification, and they're not the only ones. The interns and the other people and the staff in the White House have also been problematic. You know, Adolf Hitler killed millions of Jews, and he slaughtered millions of ethnic minorities. And he did it with the justification that he needed this genocide to help cleanse the earth. And yet Hamas takes this same position. And these university professors, CAIR and others, say that, well, you just have to put it in context. And so they went out and slaughtered another 1,300 people. And then they say that proudly, and they think that the people of Harvard and the students of Harvard, that that's not a hate crime or that's not threatening or intimidating to go out and say, you know, we really should carry on. Because what they are advocating for is exactly what was advocated for by Adolf Hitler. They claim the same types of things. And they should be just absolutely, they got to deport the people that are here that are guests of the United States. and they got to get serious about cleaning this up. But the White House, it's an embarrassment.
Can't allow it to happen for sure. Noa, thank you. Great to see you. And Jason, always good to have you. Thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.